Welcome, everyone. This is version 16, and as Tim mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and give you a demo of these new features. So I'm going to start with a little subtle one that almost none of you are going to notice unless you're installing for the first time, which isn't the case for almost everyone on this line. But you can change this configuration now of SI to be encrypted when you're, I should say, to add encryption between the server and the client communications. Now, it's part of the server configuration wizard, that thing you did the first time you ever set up the software. So it would be on your SI server machine, but I will show you very quickly here. I'm going to run the SCW, the server configuration wizard here. And since I'm already configured, it skips right to the summary, and you'll see it says use encryption. I'm set to no. I run everything locally here, but if you hit back here, you'll see we put a little option here to encrypt client and server communications. If you check that, it will add 128-bit encryption to your server and client communications. So I know a lot of you are going to be excited about that. So let me go ahead and minimize that, and now we'll get into some of the actual other, like the features in here. So custom fields. Now, we've had custom fields for a long time in SI for projects, and we've had them for products and labor items, just catalog items. And of course, custom means they're completely customizable. Over the years, we've added more and more as requests came in, and different types. A few releases ago, we added list type custom fields. Where we have never had custom fields in the software before were tasks, service orders, and service plans. So we added those, and I'll just gonna take you over here just real quickly to, we'll get a service orders first, and we'll take a look at it out here. So this is going to load my service order explorer, and I'm going to go up to settings, and you'll see this custom fields here. So one thing I want to point out about this, these are unique custom fields for each entity. Unlike our product and labor item custom fields, those are shared. So if you create a custom field for a thinking it's going to be used just for products, that also displays for the labor items. It's one thing. So, but these are completely separate. So service orders have their own list. Tasks have their own list. Service plans have their own list. And we gave you 20 to start off with, and I'm sure you'll request more. But we have 5 text, 5 list, 5 date, and 5 Boolean. So this will allow you to customize these. Now, of course, these are for service orders and tasks. They will go out to mobile install. They will be editable out there. So these are going to transfer back and forth. We will see that in a little bit, but I wanted to mention that now. They don't just live in SI. They are also part of the mobile install interface as well. So again, create as many of these as you need. Well, up to 20, I should say. And again, you'll see these later. So that is going to give you a lot of flexibility for your tasks and service orders that you've just never had before. We also added a priority field for service orders. That's why I started here, and I'll show you that just real quick. Priorities. We were going to just let our users use one of those new custom fields. If you want a priority, create a custom field for it. But then we thought better of it and said, no, this should be on the general tab, and it should be a dedicated field, and not have them waste one of their 20 custom fields on this. So this is our default list: low, medium, and high, and you can pick a default. As you can see here, there's a little set as default button. So as you create a service order, it'll just choose that as your default, but completely customizable list, and you can move these up and down and choose one to be your default. So those do display on service orders. So let's open one and just show you where the field is. I'm sure you will find it very quickly, but here, let's move this more center, but there it is. There's your priority field. And again, this will transfer out to mobile install as well. And since we're here, I'll just show you the custom fields. So this is how they display, and it's just another tab out here, and those are the 4 that I've defined for this demo. Okay, next is we added color coding to this schedule status. So where's my status? There it is. So it's just off screen there, but there's some status, and you see that color coding. First time we've ever tried this. I mean, we've done color coding, but it's usually the entire row. Inside of projects is where we do color coding, right? Owner furnished equipment, non-billable items, optional, alternates, all of those have their own colors, and I think accessories and package items too. Well, we set this here, I'll just take you to schedule status here, and you'll see that you are able to change the back color as well as the fore color, which is your font or your text in this case. I should say text. You can change those to any color you want. Again, in case you are colorblind and these don't make sense to you or you can't see them, change them to whatever you want. It's a flexible interface here. Just put in your values here. This color coding also it displays on our calendar now too. So, and we'll get to that. I'm just going to show you that. I'm just showing you the feature here first. We'll get to the calendar improvements. But so we have some color coding there, and it's the first time we've just done a column versus the entire row, as I was mentioning. So that's kind of cool as well. So, and these default colors, by the way, are the ones that match out in mobile install that you can't change. So we have some rigid colors out there. We match them here, but you're able to do whatever you want here in SI. It will not change out in mobile install. Those are still going to stay the same, but still cool to have this. And another scheduling feature, just based on the time that we had for this release, we changed business hours to say now business hours and holidays. So you are able to add company-wide holidays now in this interface. This is what it's always looked like here before. We changed this word to weekend now because that should make sense now. Used to say holiday because this is all we had, but now there's a tab here where you can add your business holidays and choose whether or not they repeat every year. You know, like some things don't, like what is it? Thanksgiving is on a different day each year, right? So that won't be every year, but you can set them out here. And this change year is just if you want to change what year you're entering. You can put a couple years ahead out here. And the point of this is when you go to schedule a task or a service order, you know, you'll get a warning if you're going to try to schedule outside of your business hours, which we've always done, but these now count as, hey, that's outside. You've said this is a holiday. You're trying to schedule work. Of course, as always, we'll let you schedule it, but we're going to warn you. You're going to get that prompt to say, hey, there's a conflict here. And this is a step in the right direction for us. We're heading towards, you know, being able to put, you know, time off for individual resources. So this is what we had time for this release. We did the global holidays, and we'll get feedback from our users to see how they like it. But we are going to have to start looking at, you know, allowing, you know, this resource is not here this week or these 3 days. That way, when they go, your project managers go to schedule, they're not scheduling somebody who's not available. And so we will be heading that direction soon, but this is our trial at that for the business hours. Well, we're here talking about these fields. I just want to take you to mobile install here, and we're looking at a service order out in mobile on an MI. And so here you'll see that there's your priority field. So that's just been added here. If I scroll down a little bit here, you'll see custom fields. So those are the 4 that you've been seeing. And, you know, if there are drop downs, they do transfer out here. So your text can fill these in as needed. And just close out of that. So, and again, they synchronize back and forth. Another big change that we did. So prior to this release, when you had site items, let me just go out here, site items. Site items are items not a part of the task or service order, but that the technicians add inside of mobile install. Could be something that they have on the truck or the van. They need it on site, and then they add these site items. And then, of course, when you approve the task or service order, those will synchronize back down to SI, and you either add them to the project or you can create an estimate for the service order over in QuickBooks if needed. Well, we didn't have the ability to approve just some site items. It was just approving the task or service order, and that in turn approved every single site item. Well, now you have, as you can see here, the option to approve individual items or unapprove them if you make a mistake, of course. But the approval is still there for the entire task/service order, but this is now independent in the sense that I can just say, I'm approving this one today. The other work's not going to be done until tomorrow or 2 days from now. We'll have to approve those then. Or you could just do them all, of course. But the point here being is, you know, I'm approving them all. That doesn't automatically approve the service order. It's just approving the site item. So we took that a step in the right direction to allow essentially service orders, you know, that might span more than 1 day. You might have to order a part or something, come back. So we didn't get these approved. So that's the new feature. Then just so you see what happens when you are approving, I'll just do one here. when you go to approve it, it automatically fills in with the contact for the task or service order, but you can change this name here. So we're not requiring a signature for this, but you can put a name in here on who approved it, and then it'll show as there who was approved by, but the signature is still here on the overall task or service order. So just independent features now. So I was pretty excited about getting that into the software in this release. And last but not least, we've had a request for a while regarding entering time out here. Now, you can either enter just a single value for your time that you spent or each technician spent, or you can activate timesheets like I have sitting out here. There's timesheets available. The issue or the request was they'd like, say, a lead technician, for instance, to be able to enter the hours for the other technicians assigned to the same task or service order. So you have 2 or 3 people assigned to a task. Let one person, the lead technician, enter the hours for those other users. And you couldn't do that before unless that lead tech was an administrator. There's 2 levels for mobile install users. There's an administrator or what we call an installer. The difference being administrators have access to this tab for installers, the setup tab with all your settings out here. They also, when they're looking at tasks and service orders, see everybody's versus just their own. Installers just see their own and they don't have access to these. Well, what the request was, and so what would happen is unless they were an administrator, they could only enter their own time. So there wasn't that lead tech time entry option. So what we gave you here is I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have these tabs. Out here I can see my installers. And here you can, if I edit one of these, you can check an option to edit actual hours on all resources if you want to give them that option without changing their role here or their status here. They're still an installer, but they will be able to enter hours for all the technicians assigned, or should say resources assigned to that task or service order. So that's a nice new feature for all of you that have asked about that. Okay, let me go ahead and minimize this. Let's go back here to SI. And let's look at the calendar. So I already have the calendar open, I believe. Yep. So in our last release, if I'm not mistaken, we gave you the ability, or not gave you the ability, we made this calendar pop out in its own window. It used to stay within the main interface, but as you can see down here, here's my main interface, and this is now in its own window. So again, that's not new. We did that already. But what you are seeing new here is the color coding. There we go. This one's in progress, completed. These ones have not been started yet. So we added, again, the color coding here, but the request came in. Well, no, sorry, I should explain what you're seeing here too. We're looking at a month view, and I am not merging my calendars right now, so you can see that there's a technician here and a technician here. Well, let me check one more. This person, and what about this person? Well, you notice I don't see that. Nothing even flicked on the screen to indicate that it was going to show something else. And the reason for that is we do not have the scrolling ability in this upper window. So you can only view 2 at a time. So if I wanted to see one of these other ones, I've got to uncheck other people, right? And then I'll see the 2 that I want to see. So it was a little clunky for a lot of our users, just having the way that was configured. So what we gave you the ability to do now is to open these in their own window as well. So I can right-click one of these and say open a new window, and it will open another window for just that resource. And you can do that up to 5 times. You can have 5 of these individual windows open plus the 2 showing here. So that's 7 calendars potentially viewable at the same time. And that will hopefully help you with your scheduling. But we didn't want to stop there. Since we were opening these up in new windows, we also gave you the ability to drag and drop between calendars to reassign resources when you're viewing individual resource calendars, whether it's in its own window like this or even these side-by-side ones. I'm going to show it in the side-by-side because I don't have, I have one monitor I'm working off of right now, and everything minimizes when I try this. So I'll take this one, for instance. I'm going to open this service order up just so you can see. So this is my calendar, Seth Enos, and then here on resources, there I'm assigned as a resource, and so is this person. Well, over here we have a different person, and I'm going to take this and drag it over to this day. And what you're seeing is basically saying, we can confirm the changes to the dates and resources on this. We're going to remove this person, and we're going to add this person. So it doesn't remove the secondary person on that. So you'll see in a second. Hit OK. we'll reopen this up, and I've just been removed from it, and now Pat and who was the other name? Tracy will be assigned to this. So there you go. So that's a nice, quick way to reassign resources. Because prior to this, if y'all aren't familiar with that, you would open this up, and then you come to this tab, and then you delete the person, and then you add the other person, then you save it. So a lot of steps right there for just reassigning. So now you can just drag and drop, and it will reassign. So pretty cool new feature there. And let's see. And I think that's all I have to show you right now on the calendar. But a lot of work went into that. It was particularly difficult for our team to figure out how to drag and drop between the individual windows with these controls that we work with. So that was all sorted out. So let me minimize this. Now, since we've been talking about custom fields, that to me is a pretty big feature for tasks and service orders. I am going to now move over to workflow rules, and you'll see why. Control panel. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time out in control panel. It's not the exciting interface, but this is, of course, everyone knows where all of your settings are. So I'm going to try to go through these and show all the settings while we're here. But I do want to start with workflow rules. This is exciting. So I'm going to open this up, and we'll just say we'll do a new one for a project, for instance. We'll just do a new one. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is that the interface looks a little bit different. We used to have the stuff that was on this general tab here and the criteria on the same tab, but we've added so much more out there now. We had to change this. It was getting way too crowded. So now the general tab is just going to be where you get to choose the execute on. We'll give it a name and choose your execute on. The criteria is where the exciting stuff changed. So let's go to criteria, and this list is similar to what you've seen in the past. All these fields are out here, but take a look here. Custom fields have now been added to your workflow rules, and not just for projects. We've always had project custom fields in the software, but they weren't available here. But for all these entities, your tasks, service orders, and service plans, since they now have custom fields as of this release, we added those there as well. So you can set triggers and rules out here, workflow rules, based on custom fields for tasks, service orders, service plans, and projects. And what we're looking at here now are just the project fields. Before I move on, let me go back to the general tab, and I'm going to go to a reminder option, because when I go to criteria now, my criteria has changed, and we added these 4 fields. The checked out for more than, we did that a while back, probably 2 releases ago. But we added estimated close date in, actual close date in, start date in, and end date in. I think these are going to, the estimated close date is going to be the one that's most used, where you can notify whoever you want if the estimated close date's within X amount of days. Maybe you need to do a follow-up, anything. So these I'm sure you'll find uses for, but I think that was kind of the key one. But we don't just add one field, that we're going to add all the fields when we go to do this. So, all right, I'm not done yet. The notify, we changed this around a little bit. And in fact, hold on, let me go back to, we'll just go to create. So when we look at notify here, so everything's filled in, we split these sections out a little better than they were before. So here's your users to notify, and then here's people outside of your company to notify. Now, we always had this additional emails here, but this is the new setting here, notify the primary contact. So, and that applies to projects where you can have multiple contacts, but it also, this option is here for the contacts assigned to purchase orders, tasks, service orders, and service plans. So that option will be there. So again, that's outside your company, but there's a primary contact or a contact on these entities. Notify them if something changes. So that's there versus having to always have to type in their email. And then we're not done yet. Last but not least, the email message that goes out. So this is for additional emails, but if you take a look at the messages tab now, we added an insert field option. So here are fields, in this case from project, because I'm in a project, that you can now add these to your text here, and it will fill in with the values from the project. And again, this is available on the purchase orders, tasks, service order, service plans as well. It'll obviously be a different list, but notice my custom fields are down here too. So custom fields can be added to this email template versus you having to just manually type stuff in, we'll fill those in for you in the email. So that was a long time request. Give us the fields that we can notify either users or people outside of your company when the rule is triggered. So, okay, there's workflow rules. We'll go ahead and close out of there. While I'm here, we added let's go to my addresses here. We added a default shipping address option. So we always had a default address, but not a default billing versus shipping address. And a big complaint from a lot of our users that use our purchase order system, either in SI or even through SI sending to QuickBooks, is we always default to whatever your default address is here, but that might not be your shipping address. You might have a warehouse that's, whether it's 2 blocks away, it's still not the building where the billing address is. You need it shipped to a different place. So you can now set a default shipping address, and then when you go to do a purchase order in SI, and even if you're doing a QuickBooks one through SI, we will default to whatever address you've chosen as your default shipping address. And if you run our purchase order request reports out of our standard report list, that will also default to this address now. So that was a big request. People were saying, I constantly forget to change that address, and I get the stuff shipped to my office and then have to find a way to transport it all where it needs to go. So that's done. Now, while we're here, I should point out too, like, here's your task custom fields, service order custom fields, the priority, service plan custom fields. They're available out here as well. I showed you how to edit them earlier directly out in other parts of the app, but they're sitting here as well. And real quickly, permissions, a few of these here. So let's go to user groups, and I'm going to show some permissions here. We added one down here for mass update projects. So in our last release, we added a mass update option in the Project Explorer. We've always had one in the Project Editor, but the Project Explorer, when you're viewing all of your projects, we added mass update there. And we got quite a few emails saying not everybody should have this permission. Now, mind you, they may have permission to edit projects, great, but they don't want them mass updating projects. You can change a lot of things there. You can change statuses and things like that. So that now can be limited on which one of your users do that. And of course, there are permissions out here for who can manage the custom fields for tasks, service orders, and service plans, those new custom fields. You can deny people the ability to edit or to manage that list. They can populate them, but they can't change the list. And the other thing we did out here, which I think is just so long overdue, and I'm so glad we did it. This used to say create/modify projects, and that was it. It was a combined permission. If you can create them, you can modify them. We always limited on what you can view here. Well, I should say always, for years and years and years we have. So now what we've done is create projects as its own entity, and then you can give permissions to modify all projects, just the projects you're assigned to, or just the projects that they're a resource on. Very similar to what we did here. So that was a key change that's going to hopefully make a lot of you happy, because I just never really liked that create/modify being a combined permission. But it's one of those legacy things that, hey, we finally got to change. So glad we could do it. Back to projects. Or not back to, let's start with projects here. Okay, so some changes out here. Let's start with the Explorer here. Here's that mass update I was talking about. Let me get one that's checked in. So I'm obviously mass update one, but so these are the fields here. And of course, there's custom fields that can be updated as well. This is the one that you can now control with that new permission. So just a heads up on that. So one thing we're going to do now in this new version, so let me create a new one. I'm not really going to go through all this, but when you create a new project, you see over here, we have the assigned to, which we've always had. But a few releases ago, we added sales rep, designer, and project manager fields as unique fields here. Knowing full well, we have a resources tab, and we've always had a resources tab. But a lot of times, resources aren't getting added there till later. You might not know who the PM is going to be, and even here, you might not know that stuff right now. But what we're doing now is when you go through this, prior to this release, I would assign, let's say I know who my sales rep is, and let's say I happen to know who my project manager is. when you get to the or when you finish this wizard out, we didn't automatically add these people to the resources for the project. And that was confusing a lot of our users. Like, wait a minute, why are they here, but they're not a resource as well? Because again, a lot of those workflow rules and permissions I just showed you are based or triggered around who is a resource on the project versus this assigned to field, right? So now what will happen is on save, once you, of course, it's not going to let me save until I put a name here, but once you save this, if these fields are populated, they will automatically be added as a resource. So it's just one of those things that we should have been doing for a long time. But now we're doing it. So there it is. So let me see here. Okay, project rules, a whole new setting out here. Project rules is in this list. So completely new interface because it's all brand new here. And this was a request for a while now to automatically create a revision when the status of a project is changed to a particular status. So here you can set that. You can pick, when it switches to design, I want a revision created, or when it switches to procurement, create a revision, just so I have a quick backup of this file at that state in time. So you can set these and we'll automatically create revisions for you. Now, that could get out of hand, obviously, with the number of revisions that you're going to have out there. And a lot of times you only need those revisions temporarily anyways. It's kind of like that, a fail-safe, just in case procurement messes something up. I can go back to this one and, and restore revision as needed. So what we're allowing here is to maintain the last X number of revisions for a project. Of course, you could just leave them all and not set this. But if you want to say just leave the last 3 and then delete the rest, you could set that if you want to. But I would say be careful with that. I mean, until you get used to using it, you might not want those deleted automatically for you. You may want to manually delete those as needed. But we wanted to put this here as needed. Now, keep in mind, folks, this will only be for manually created revisions and the ones created through this, not the ones that go with change orders. You're not deleting those, sorry, unless you manually go do it, but we're not going to automatically do it. So when you have a change order, when you've approved a project, and every change order you do, we offer to create a revision of those. This deletion or maintaining will not apply to those. We're always going to maintain those. It's just the ones you manually create or create through this process. The other thing we added here is to auto archive checked-in project which has not been updated in X number of months. So just another little automatic thing. You can always archive a project, don't worry, but it's just auto archive if you prefer that option. Help keep your list clean. If it's we've checked in this project, it's been sitting out there for 6 months and hasn't been checked out, go ahead and archive that. So those are the new settings there. Okay, a big complaint that we've had, which one of the few complaints that we had about our new change order process we did a few years ago. Everyone seems to love this new process, but the complaint being is there's only one numbering system, meaning whether it's internal or external, we have one numbering system here. So I don't know if everyone is familiar with using that, but when you go to create a change order, we ask you if it's external or internal. External being something your client requested, generally the most common ones, I would think, but then there's also a ton of internal ones that happen, engineering changes inside of a job. The problem is the numbering system is automatic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just counts up as you create your change orders. So what we added here is the ability to, let me hear project number format, maintain separate numbering for external and internal change orders. So that just means, when you present the first change order to your client and they sign off on it, and then you do 3 more internal change orders, the next change order you present your client isn't number 5. It will be number 2 when you have this checked. And apparently that was a big problem for a lot of our users having to explain that. It's like, wait a minute, we just did change order 1. Why am I signing change order 5? Where are the other 3? And they had to explain, wait, those were internal ones that had nothing to do with you. And of course that could make a customer worry. Wait, what are these other change orders? So now your numbering will be consistent if you check that box. So I should probably just go ahead and do that. So while I'm here, let's see what else we're going to do here. Okay, so we added a project hours column out here. Simple request, but it was asked for. I've got one out here somewhere. On upgrade, it's not going to automatically populate to you open a project and check it back in, but that's what you're going to see here in a second. Where's my list? It'll be partially filled in. There it is, my hours. and some of these projects don't have many in them yet. But these are ones I've checked out and checked back in. But that'll populate. That was a request for a while to be able to see the hours out here. And of course, you can create your own custom layouts. You guys know that, so you can have that hours column wherever you want. And last but not least is a file check when you're checking in a project, or if you're archiving a project. But I'll give you the check-in example here. And what this file check is for, it's for those of you that go into the projects folder and place files in there, which you shouldn't do. But we can't stop you. You know where your local project folder is, and sometimes it's easier for you to put like images in there. Here's the photos from the site. Let's go ahead and just copy and paste a bunch of them at once versus adding them in individually, which is really what we require for these files here. This add button. We ask that you use this add button and kind of enforce it in the sense that we need to know that the file exists. So when you hit the add button, we write a little script out, in SQL that we know to check this file in. It's not a part of SI, but somebody put a file in here. Check that into the server, so the next person that checks this out can get and have access to that file. When you manually copy and paste into our projects folder, those are not synchronizing back and forth to the server. And those of you that have tried that have probably figured that out at some point, especially with a multi-user environment. Why don't I see these pictures? Why don't I see this signed document? Well, because someone copied and pasted them in, and we don't know it's there. So what we'll do now is if someone has done that, added files there, when you go to check in a project, or I should say, when you have added them and you go to check in the project, we're going to see if there's files in there we don't recognize that aren't a part of our table out there, and we're going to say, hey, do you want to add these or not? You can cancel. You say add or do not add these. And there may be still use cases where you don't want them added. No, these are just I want those locally on my machine. No one else needs to see that for this project. I'm good with that. Others you're going to want to share and have other people view. So that's a little file check there that you'll see if you are one of those people that goes out to the projects folder and copy and paste, but don't do that. So let's move on to project editor changes. Here we go. Here's a project editor. Now, where should I start? Okay, first thing we did is we added back add buttons. This was a drop down in our last release. So we in our last 2 releases ago, I should say, in v14, we did all new icons, a whole new color scheme out here, and we consolidated and tried to clean up all these ribbons. Well, guess what? We made mistakes, and we made our users angry because they did not want to have to click a drop down for add and then have to choose what they're adding. It used to be 1 button. Why is it now 2? Or 2 clicks, I should say. So we added these back across here. We had the real estate for them, and they're the most common things you're doing generally within a project. And again, if anybody out there has complaints about the changes to the ribbons, or if there's a consolidated menu that you think shouldn't be, add it to our feedback site, feedback.d-tools.com. That's where we can see that. Just put it out there, and we will try to make some changes back, because you're the ones using this constantly, and we do make mistakes that we can correct. So there you go. Now let's go here to the item summary view. Scoot in here. So this is the item summary view. You've seen this before. So we added an export to CSV here, which it was just a request, and I'm just not sure why it wasn't here, and no one really had an answer, so we added it. You can always go to Excel or PDF, which I don't know why we didn't have CSV in the list, but anyways, we added that. Minor, but we did it. Oops. The other major change that we did out here for this view is you can now view optional items if you choose to. A few releases ago, we added this grouping out here, and then the ability to display packages came in a subsequent release, and then now it's to include optional items. Now, the price at the bottom line here, at the very bottom, is not going to include optional items, just like none of the other interfaces are reporting those. Optional items are optional. They are not a true part of the project, but you can view them here at least. So if I hit include optional, let's see if I see any in here. Oh no, I think I forgot to add some. Hold on. No problem. Let me just grab a few of these. I'll make them optional. Let's update products. Optional. Save it. Okay, they should show as green now. Yeah, there's my color for that. Now, let me show you this. There they are. Look, there's a few more in there. So there's the anyways, in this view, to be able to see the optional items that are in here, the pricing shows here, but it's not going to be included in this column total at the very bottom, as I mentioned. They're not real, but you can at least see them. And that was a pretty decent request. A lot of people wanted that. So while we're talking summary views, the phase summary view, we added 12 more columns out here. So we've always had this labor hours, then labor cost, labor price, margin, markup, total margin. But now, I'll start right here. I'm going to stop moving in a second. Notice here, base, miscellaneous, management, design, then base, that's the hours, then base, miscellaneous, management, design, cost, and price. So we added 4 columns there to give you the granularity of your sub-phases. So that's what we're looking at here, your sub-phases that are part of every phase. And again, hold on. Y'all know what I'm talking about here, right? When you're looking at your labor rate / phases, base, miscellaneous, management, design, where they can all have different hours or percentages of hours, you can now view that out there. That was a big request. So, okay, let me open up an item. Let me go back to my preferred view here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick. Scroll down here. Let me just get an item. I don't know what I want to pick. You. We'll open up this one. So, we added a new setting here for these items within a project to exclude this product from calculated items. So hopefully everyone knows that we have calculated items in the software, and those are calculated generally based on, like, say, total price of a project, right? Total price times a percentage, and I'm going to calculate based off of this, or it's some sort of math that you built, right? Well, now you can exclude particular items, and this is for products, labor items, allowances, and bundled cable. We'll have this option to exclude it in other calculated items, which is nice because some of you were like, well, and in fact, here, real quickly, let me just show you. Let's go new product. So you guys, for those of you that aren't familiar with calculated items, go here to the price tab. When you're setting up a new product, you have this option, standard, which is just regular pricing, or calculated, and this is where you set your formula, essentially. So, like product cost, product price. Well, again, that's all of it. That's the entire job's product price, except for now the items that you choose to exclude. So, should give you a lot more flexibility when creating calculated items. So, and I'm sure tech support will get lots of calls yelling that the math is wrong now and not realizing that you have some things excluded, but we're ready to handle those. Now, we've had a rounding feature where you could manually round pricing inside of a project for a while now. That you could just choose items and just say, hey, I want to round the pricing here. For some reason, we excluded labor items from that. Labor items that were in the list, it looks like you could select them, but when you rounded, they didn't round. Now they do, just so you know. So if you select those, they will round. It's kind of an oversight, I think, on our part. So, and the reason we discovered that too is we added a new setting in here to automatically round pricing when an item is added to a project, if you would like to do that, which I'm a big fan of clean numbers. Some of you are not. But what we have here is price adjustments and rounding. So we've always had price adjustments. We just added a little field here for rounding. But inside of a project, now this is a global setting too. You can set this globally, and then also on a per project basis, change that if needed. But no decimal places, just round, or 2 decimal places. We go to 4 decimal places in the software for accuracy when you're doing bulk wire. But when you're adding it to a project, you may not care about that selling price having that 0.03467 cents. You can round it, get cleaner bids out of the software, and that will happen if this setting again, whatever you have it set here, it's just automatically going to round when added to the project. So did that for you now. Okay, so when you used to update packages to the catalog or update from catalog, I think that's a package right there. Update to catalog packages. Let me pull that up here. My point being is, like, when you used to do this, we would offer to append new items. You see here, if items were added, but deletions now, or changes to those products, no. the actual like products within this package, if I were to say, these are what's in this package, you see me circling here. If I make some changes to this green wire, this purple wire, whether it be pricing, whether it be labor hours and whatnot, we never transferred that individual data. We would just transfer new items and then package fields besides the item fields up to the catalog or from the catalog. So, but now this right here, update package items, is an option. And so that when checked, any changes made to the individual items will now also transfer. A lot of our users were finding out more and more. There's like, I always thought it did that anyways, but I found out it doesn't. I would expect if I'm saying update this package, update the items as well, what changes I made to the items. And prior to this, you could update the package, but then still, to get these other changes, you would have to come, select those items, and update the catalog products. Clunky, weird. We changed it. So there you go. That's now been done. Another thing I want to show here, let me go to my layouts, bear with me. Where's my custom fields layout? The ability now to edit long description fields here in the grid versus having to open the item. So you see this, hopefully y'all can see a little gray bit. When you're in a long text field, that will show up, and this will pop open and allow you to copy and paste and edit right here if you want to. And again, prior to that, I'm opening a product. If I want to make a change to the custom field here it is, and then I would go to custom fields, and then I would have to fill this in. So now you can do it right there in the grid. So very cool little feature. And so that's most of the changes we've made here that I've got written down. Let's move over now to the catalog. Yay, catalog. So here we go. Here I am in the catalog. Let's real quickly start with, let's see here, bear with me. Do I want to do it from here? No, I'm going to go to, we'll go to price types here. So this is Tim's new favorite feature, as he mentioned. Prior to this release, you were limited to 12 price types. And some of you absolutely used all 12 of those. Most of you probably didn't. But a lot of you used real close to like 8 of them, 9 of them, depending on how you run your business or how many different states you do business in or different contracts you have. You had to maintain different levels of pricing. Well, now you can have up to 50. Hopefully, that will cover it for a while. That will be enough. So rather, before this interface used to just show you all 12, and you would check them off if you wanted to make them active, give it a name and a description if you want to, and that would be your list. Now, here we go. It's just there, but when I go to add, know that you can add up to 50. That's what you see here. Give it a name and a description, and you can mark one of them as the default. Prior to this, the top one in the list was always your default. You had a set checklist, but now we realize as you go through this and you have, let's say you're using 20 different price types, at some point, one of those other ones may become your default. You can always, rather than having to rename it and move it up to the top of the list, just set it as your default. It's that easy. So anyways, that's that change there. Okay, and now one thing someone may have noticed out there, anybody that's paying attention, is what's this color here? Blue is what you have selected. That's always done that. But what's that one? When we do color coding in the software, we've always done it within a project. Never here in the catalog. We didn't need to. Well, guess what? This is an OFE item now. You can now add owner-furnished equipment items directly into your catalog without having to create a manufacturer named owner furnished equipment or client supplied, which all of you have done over time for cable boxes, I'm sure. We always had owner furnished equipment available only at the project level. You add it to a project, then mark it as OFE. Well, that's a problem for a lot of you because you forget to mark it as OFE sometimes. Well, now you can have your OFE items out here in your catalog, and I'll just show you the setting. Owner furnished equipment. Notice all my pricing's grayed out. We warn you if there's an item out here that you do mark, we're just letting you know, hey, we're clear on this pricing. Just so you know, if you've got these fields filled in, they're about to get wiped because it's now owner furnished equipment. But so that's there. That was a catalog setting, and of course we added that color coding here. This matches whatever you've chosen OFE to be in your projects as well. It translates out here. And it will be in all your dialogues. Like if you're going to add an accessory, you'll see the OFE by color. and they're saying, oh no, I don't want to add no FE item, or maybe you do. Let me go to real quickly our next feature here. Let me find a speaker, which I know it's old, I think, but I used this many years ago, and accessories are here. A new option here on the accessories tab, do not order. And you can add that to just this as an accessory. So, and what I mean by that is there sometimes, and this is the use case that came up, is there might be some products that you have in your catalog that are do not order. Always. We never order these, so great. We've had that setting for a while. You can do not order. The use case came up is like, well, you know what? I don't order it when it's an accessory to this item, but I do order them sometimes as a single item that I don't want to mark it as do not order in my catalog, because I do order it oftentimes. But when it's an accessory, I don't need to order this part. So this is independent of whatever the setting is out in the catalog for that particular item. I checked it here. Doesn't mean I checked it on the other one. Now, when you're adding here, we'll initially add it with or without the do not order as in the catalog. But if you uncheck it here, again, it's independent of what is out there in the catalog. So, and you'll get warnings about that if you try to, uncheck one later, say, hey, hold on, this is an accessory to other items. What are we doing with that? But we won't stop you from keeping these independent. So there's that option that we added to the software. Another little subtle one we did I'll just describe it, okay? Packages and solutions out in our software, we always grade out the part number field because those are things that you create. When it's historically what it's been, especially solutions, you're creating those, and packages in our software have always been, custom packages that you build. We did not expect part number field to be needed on those because you're making up the name of the thing anyways, and you're putting the bits and pieces in there. It's not something you're ordering, but found a lot of our users like to have internal names for these items, and they want to display them differently on reports by using that part number field. So it's available to you now. You can fill in a part number field if needed for packages and solutions. We just made it active, and it was a pretty simple change. But and also what we did throughout the software, you'll see it, and just trust me on this, like accessories tabs and alternates tabs, we added auto fit columns. So this is probably one of my favorite features we added a while back, is the auto fit. And throughout a lot of our interfaces, because every time I change a layout, then I'm going to have to, adjusting my columns. We wanted a quick button here to say auto fit all columns. That's more places throughout the software. Let's put it that way. Every place that we saw it was missing that we could use it, we tried to add it. So just look around and you'll find those, or it'll be a nice feature for you. When you're on accessories tab, I can auto fit. Okay, we're getting to the end, guys. There's a few more things to show you. Give me 1 sec. So let's see, for client zone, that's this one. Real quickly, people. What we added out here is a name field for addresses. Kind of like it's just a name field. That's all it is. And here, so when you're adding, you see right there. So we've had to type for a while. Is it billing? Is it site? Or is it other? You can create all those. But for a lot of you have like this. Let's say there were 20 different locations. Well, I wanted to have a name for that. I don't know the address for each one of those. What's the name of it? So now you can do that. And it makes it a lot easier in the software when you're switching between addresses on a project. You're like, we're doing a project for Acme Insurance, but yeah, which location? And it's like, oh, hold on, I don't know. Or I know the name of the location. I have no idea what the address is. So anyway, that's a small little feature, but it's gonna save you all a lot of grief. And then real quickly, last but not least, a couple of QuickBooks changes for you. Let me see here. Let me go to, I should have stayed where I was, but you know what? I'll just get a setup control panel. And I'm gonna scroll down to QuickBooks. So here we go. We added the ability for you to set multiple company addresses out here. I know that won't apply to a lot of you, but we have a lot of users now that are, have different QuickBooks files for different aspects of their company, whether it's security versus AV versus lighting. They use a different QuickBooks file, or they the different, well, I should put it this way, all of our big companies that are in different countries, they're definitely using different files, or even throughout the regions in the US or even in Canada. Like, we have a different QuickBooks file for this versus this versus this. So you can add those here, and then very quickly just switch between them. and quick change your default, go push over to this one. This project needs to be pushed over to this one. Rather than having to remap, we can store that information for you. So it was a little subtle change there, but it's going to help a lot of you that have multiple files. And then last but not least, I'm going to have to show you a picture of this one because I don't have QuickBooks Enterprise on my laptop here. But for those of you that are using QuickBooks Enterprise and have activated the advanced inventory feature there, which if for those of you that know, advanced inventory, it doesn't just give you a number of what you have. It will also let you pick locations and sub-locations of where that equipment is. So here, let me go back here. Sorry again, it's just an image because I don't have it installed here. But when you check inventory now in QuickBooks through our software, there's a little link here that says View Site Inventory. If you have, that's only if you have advanced inventory set up, and then you will see here we can see a location and then sub-locations, locations and sub-locations. Unassigned is just the default that QuickBooks uses. So, but yeah, gives you a lot more flexibility of seeing where stuff is if you are happen to use advanced inventory in QuickBooks. Requests from a lot of you, actually. And that concludes my demonstration of the new features in v16. I see a lot of time savers out here. We worked really hard on this. And again, we focus on just all aspects of the software. What can we improve really to save you time? And saving time saves you money. So thanks again. And now open it up for Q&A.